The forest of Elderwin was shrouded in mystery, its dense trees hiding secrets as old as time itself. But among the whispered tales of witches and haunted ruins, one legend stood above all: the Golden Werewolf, a creature cursed with a gilded hide that shimmered like molten metal under the moonlight. The curse, they said, was a punishment, not a blessing. The beast's beauty was a lure, a cruel irony masking its unquenchable bloodlust.
The tragedy of Kale.
Kale had once been a hunter, a man of skill and renown. Known for his kindness and unyielding courage, he lived on the edge of the forest with his wife, Lyra, and their unborn child. But fate turned dark the night he answered the cries of a wounded animal deep in the woods. He found a golden wolf trapped in a hunter's snare, its glowing fur dimmed by blood and anguish. Against all caution, Kale freed the creature. The wolf turned its shimmering eyes upon him, a gaze that held both gratitude and an unspoken warning. Before he could react, the wolf lunged, its teeth sinking into his shoulder. He screamed, not in pain but in horror, as the creature's form twisted, its golden glow consuming him. The wolf vanished into the shadows, leaving Kale alone, trembling, his wound burning like fire.
The transformation.
In the days that followed, Kale's body began to change. His strength grew beyond human limits, his senses sharpened to an unbearable degree, but with the power came torment. At night, his dreams were filled with blood and shadows, his body racked with fever as the moon rose higher in the sky. On the third night, under a full moon, Kale's humanity was stripped away. His screams turned to growls, his hands to claws, his skin to a golden pelt that glowed with an unholy light. He awoke at dawn in a clearing drenched with blood. The bodies of livestock and wild animals surrounded him, their throats torn out, their lifeless eyes staring into the void.
The hunt begins.
Lyra was the first to notice the change. Kale grew distant, his eyes dark with guilt and terror. But when the villagers discovered their slaughtered animals, suspicion turned to rage. A mob formed, torches and pitchforks in hand, their anger fueled by fear. Kale fled, knowing the truth he couldn't bring himself to share. He sought refuge deeper in the forest, his nights consumed by the golden beast within him. Each transformation brought more carnage, more blood. No matter how far he ran, the curse followed, an inescapable hunger clawing at his soul.
The villagers' wrath.
The villagers, emboldened by desperation, called upon a mercenary named Dorian Blackthorn, a famed hunter of supernatural creatures. Armed with silver-tipped arrows and a heart of iron, Dorian tracked Kale through the forest, his every step drawing closer to the cursed man. Dorian finally confronted the Golden Werewolf in the heart of the forest beneath a blood-red moon. Kale, now fully consumed by the beast, roared with a voice that shook the trees. His golden pelt glowed like fire, a beacon of both beauty and terror. The battle was brutal. Dorian's arrows found their mark, but the werewolf's strength was unstoppable. Blood sprayed in the moonlight, the clash of claws against steel echoing through the forest.
The final stand.
Kale's humanity flickered as he saw Lyra appear on the battlefield, her face pale with fear and sorrow. Her voice broke through the haze, calling his name. The werewolf hesitated, its golden eyes meeting hers for a fleeting moment. But the beast's hunger was too great. With a final, desperate charge, it lunged at Dorian, its claws aiming for the hunter's throat. Dorian thrust his blade upward, piercing the werewolf's heart. The golden glow dimmed, and Kale's form crumpled to the ground. His human face returned, pale and streaked with tears. He reached for Lyra as the light faded from his eyes, his final words lost in a gurgle of blood.
The legacy.
The villagers burned the body, scattering the ashes to the wind. They believed the curse had been vanquished, the forest cleansed, but Lyra knew the truth. As she stood alone under the moonlight, she felt a faint tug in her heart, a connection to the man she had loved and the beast he had become. And deep in the shadows, the golden glint of eyes watched her from the trees, waiting for the night when the curse would rise again.